Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a truly fascinating journey straight into the mind of an elite athlete. We're going to uncover her brilliant insights on exactly how we can dismantle those restrictive, frustrating barriers that society constantly tries to build around us. We'll be looking really closely at a powerful talk by Candace Parker and exploring how her whole perspective on breaking the mold shifted entirely, all thanks to the mindset of the next generation.
Okay, let's dive right in by imagining a scenario. Picture this. You're constantly being asked one exact stereotyping question. Do you play basketball? You get asked this by your neighbor across the street or, maybe by some 5'7" airport security guy who secretly thinks he could take you one-on-one simply because you happen to be tall. Well, Candace Parker dealt with this her entire life, and while she'd reluctantly just answer yes, inside she was screaming that she was so much more than the narrow mold that question implies.
I mean, just look at the monumental reality of her success. 2 NCAA championships, 2 Olympic gold medals, 2 WNBA championships. She isn't just someone who plays basketball. She has literally dominated the sport at the absolute highest levels humanly possible. And yet, society still tried to reduce her down to a simple stereotype.
Section 1. The box of societal expectations. Society has this really annoying habit of putting us into neat little boxes of expectations, right? And breaking out of them requires a massive mental shift. The crucial point here is that breaking a barrier isn't just about setting some athletic records. It's a conscious, deliberate choice to not stay in the lane society expects of you. It means flat out refusing to accept limitations and not just conforming to what everyone else thinks is the right way to do things. It's a tough, uphill battle built entirely on the inspiration of those who came before us and fought to open doors they themselves could never walk through.
Section 2. Sports as a microcosm of life. For Candace and her family, sports weren't just games. They were basically the ultimate training ground for reality. Growing up, her parents and brothers empowered her with the nickname Can Do. They encouraged her to just be herself, whether she was wearing a dress or out climbing trees. By 1997, the WNBA's inaugural season gave her the representation she so desperately needed. She no longer had to pretend to be Michael Jordan in the driveway. She could finally be Cynthia Cooper. But as she moved from the safety of her family into the wider world, she slammed right into those boxes. In middle school, the girls' team was handed old, smelly uniforms while the boys got brand new ones. In adulthood, when her brother got into a top-tier medical school, people actually whispered it was just a quota. Society, she realized, loves to tightly pack our differences into these restrictive boxes and gets genuinely angry when we have the audacity to not fit perfectly inside. Section 3. Breaking limits and proving oneself. When faced with those restrictive boxes, her generation had a very specific, fiery response. It's what we can call the individual defiance approach, and it really comes down to 3 steps. First, you notice the box society puts you in. Second, you feel those competitive juices start flowing. And third, you aggressively prove the haters wrong with a massive "I'll show you" mentality. If you checked a box of assumptions about what Candace couldn't do, it honestly just fueled her competitive fire to individually dominate and shatter those exact expectations. She demonstrated the sheer willpower of proving people wrong, step by impossible step. People told her girls can't dunk? Well, she went out and dunked twice in a single game. Told you can't have a family and a career? She came back just 9 weeks postpartum and played a professional game, all while still nursing her 13-month-old daughter. Told you can't be on a video game cover or that an athlete can't do a TED Talk? Yep, she did all of that too. But here's the thing. It was an exhausting, solitary crusade to conquer every single doubt. Section 4. The moment of realization. What's really fascinating about this whole story is the profound turning point involving her incredible daughter, Lila. This is where the entire narrative shifts. While traveling the world to play basketball in places like Russia, Turkey, and China, Candace always thought she was the one teaching Lila. But take Russia, for example. Candace brought 3-year-old Lila on a play date with a local girl named Masha. Walking into Masha's modest one-room home with a wood stove, Candace immediately started worrying about the language barrier and the living conditions. And Lila? She just looked in the corner, yelled "doll," and instantly started playing. Lila effortlessly united people, proving that teaching is absolutely a two-way street. Which brings us to a huge, historic moment in 2021. They were sitting in front of the television, and Candace made sure her daughter was front and center to watch the first Asian American and African American female vice president get sworn in. Candace turned to her, knowing exactly how important representation is, and said, "Now you can do this too." Now, I want you to let the absolute brilliance of Lila's response sink in. She looked right back at her mom, looked her dead in the eyes, and simply asked, "Why couldn't I before?" That question sparked a profound realization. Candace realized she had accidentally internalized the world's narrative. By making such a big deal out of the broken barrier, she was inadvertently validating to her own daughter that the barrier existed in the first place. Without even meaning to, she had accidentally placed her daughter inside the very box she had spent her entire life despising and fighting against. Crazy, right? Section 5. The new generation changes the world. This realization perfectly transitions us to how the next generation, Lila's generation, is completely rewriting the rules of the game. We are seeing a massive cultural shift. The older generation method was basically keep your head down, get a job, accomplish a solitary feat, and individually prove the haters wrong. But the Gen Z method, it's completely different. They unite through conversation, they fight for intersecting causes, and most importantly, they live as if the boxes and barriers simply do not exist. It's a fundamental shift from a lonely, exhausting uphill battle of individual defiance to a powerful, united collective movement. They're out there actively listening to both sides and fighting for causes that don't even directly affect them. We have entire sports leagues uniting for shared beliefs, men actively fighting for women's equal pay, white allies protesting against racial inequality, people openly prioritizing mental health. It even trickles down to conscious shopping. I mean, Lila literally handed her mom a list of stores they were no longer allowed to shop at because those brands weren't body positive and inclusive to all shapes and sizes. They are taking collective action every single day. Section 6. Outside the box. Let's wrap this up by taking a page right out of this new generation's playbook. They take our struggles, our insecurities, and our obstacles, and they either view them purely as opportunities or completely refuse to acknowledge they exist at all. Because of this bold, proud generation, Candace Parker learned a vital lesson. She realized she was the one putting basketball in a box all along by resenting that initial question. Now, when someone asks if she plays basketball, she proudly, simply answers, yes. So I'll leave you to ponder this final thought. Are you going to spend your life exhausting yourself fighting against the boxes society built for you? Or are you ready to join the next generation and live as if those barriers never even existed in the first place? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking questions and keep exploring outside the box.